Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the 13th Fleet After Action Report. We are very, very happy to have you with us today. I'm very glad that you chose to join us. Admiral Tater Ship Shop is also very glad that you joined us. If you are looking for the absolute best in tabletop wargame accessories, this is the place to go. He's working on a lot of new stuff for Leviathans, the Great War. He's working on some stuff for Blood Bowl. So go check out the shop, see what he's got new up there. If he doesn't have something for your game, I recommend that you go ahead and send him a message. He may have something in the works that he just hasn't, revealed to us all yet. But lots of great stuff there, top quality products. I highly recommend that you check them out. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. This is going to be the last After Action Report of 2025. We're going to take some time off for the holidays, so expect to see us back in January. But we are not going to waste any time with my chit-chat here. We are just going to go straight to the team today. Yes, we are short one today. Nick cannot join us this evening, but we do have Reuben.
How you doing, y'all?
And we have Garrett.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And we've got games to talk about.
Mhm.
I know, Reuben, you had mentioned in our chat that you had some things that you wanted to throw out there before we got really on topic today.
So let's start with some wargaming news. I read a Wargamer article, wargamer.com by Timothy Limward, and then Frontline Gaming actually posted another article by Lord Paddington on the first demo for StarCraft, the miniatures game. They demoed at Essen. They have all their starter box stuff. Pretty much the development is done. The miniatures were in person at Essen. Fans got to pick them up. We've got Zealots, Adepts, Sentries, Stalkers, Marines, Medics, Marauders, Zerglings, Roaches, Hydralisks, and Queens. So if you know anything about StarCraft, like I know a lot about StarCraft, that's a mix of StarCraft 1 and 2 models. So there's a 9-year release map according to the articles, which is huge. This isn't
That's some time there.
a licensed game with a 9-year schedule of releases. The guys are apparently absolute fanatics for StarCraft. They've loved it a long time. They've been working.
Optimistic 9 years.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They're all over this IP, even to the point of the hybrids from StarCraft 2. You would have had to play the campaigns pretty deep to know what that is, but for any of you that do know what that is, you can look forward to that. Apparently the models demoed really well. The crowd was really excited about them. There was a Zeratul model given away, and everything looks almost exactly like the models from the art in the game, which you don't always see in IP games like this, but everybody seemed really positive about it. The most interesting part from a development standpoint seemed to have been that they put a lot of effort and time into designing clear plastic sprue molding technology so that your Sentry, I don't know if, Chris, you know what a Sentry is. Have you played any StarCraft 2?
I haven't played StarCraft
Okay.
2. I played StarCraft, but it was many, many years ago.
Sure. But so the Sentry is this little robot, and it can make shields around it. And they've developed the technology for all of their models to have all this clear plastic components to it. So you can have the force bubbles from Sentries or from Dragoons or Zealots, and then the Marines and Medics have gun flash on them that they're on the sprue plastic. Really interesting technology. I haven't really seen that actually done out of Games Workshop. They tend to not do that with their CAD models now. And last thing is planned pre-order for first starter box stuff is January, February of 2026. And the beta rules were played and demoed at Essen. Apparently they were going the entire time, and a lot of people tried it, but it was still beta rules, and they were still taking feedback, which I think is a little interesting that you're still taking feedback when you're planning to release your first wave in, 2 months from now?
Well, let's be fair. Most
like,
of the production
time.
time is gonna be revolved around the miniatures. I feel like books would be easy to fix.
or if it's not a book, like
Yeah, if it's a
they do
PDF,
an app
then that,
and
yeah.
something.
Mhm.
So that means if they're doing pre-orders then they'll probably have stuff to pick up at Adepticon,
Ooh, yeah, they probably will.
right?
Dude, like, I'm gonna be real. I don't care if I play this game or not. When the Ultra List comes out, there's one going on my desk.
Yeah, I saw Kravik had a promo model from PAX Unplugged. It's pretty cool, and it
Mhm.
came with like it was a Protos. I can't remember what model it was, but it was one that could like cloak basically. And so
Mm.
I think it came with like two models,
It's
like
the
one that
Zero
was
tool. Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
one that
Zero
was
tool.
clear, like you
Hmm
were talking about, and then one that
hmm
was a model to paint. But the clear one looked phenomenal. It was crazy good
Yeah.
looking. It looked like glass.
Apparently, they are doing CAD production on a Goliath, which is a Terran unit, and apparently the model's the size of an Imperial Knight, which is like 10 inches tall.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
So there's like they got plans for the big stuff, which I don't know how you're gonna get that to work on like a 6x4 with the scale that the video game is. I feel like any model like that would be almost a Death Star to itself.
Yeah.
So the
We'll have to
map is
find
going to
out.
be 6x4.
That's like regular game, war game kind of size is that 6x4 table kind of stuff.
Yeah, because
GW
they're
went down to 44 by 60, so it's gives you a little bit of room around the edges of a kitchen table to play with, to have all your dice and everything, but kind of going standard. It
I mean,
seems to
it's
be
just
an
gonna be
actual, from what little I know, it seems to be an actual, like, legitimate large model war game, not so much a small skirmish size
Yeah.
war game.
Yeah. A
yeah. I'm
little,
really
Something
little
curious
bit
if it
out
does
of
impact.
my comfort zone.
hmm
I wonder how this will impact like the market for non 40K uh companies that are that fight for that like
Yeah.
that market space, right? Because you
hmm
got Legion, now you got StarCraft. Uh, I can
You've
I
got,
want to say Halo Flashpoint, but it's more of a skirmish game. But
yeah,
like,
it's more skirmishy.
I kind of want to put it in this league with them because it's also based off of IP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then what other sci-fi miniature game is there out right now? That's based on a thing. Uh,
That's based on a thing.
yeah, I don't. I guess there's not
Sci-fi?
one. I guess this is it.
Most of the sci-fi stuff is weirdly kind of cycled out. You
Yeah,
don't
that's
see that
true.
on
I
that.
guess there's War
Yeah.
Machine
Now
is
I
back.
know they're bringing back Firestorm Armada, which is an interesting game.
Isn't that just little ships though?
It is ships. Yeah. It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, it plays more like
I don't.
Armada than at
Yeah,
least
I
the
don't know because
limited
that's like a
experience I've had with it.
with it. I think it's like in its third like attempted launch now. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. The big thing is it's kind of rough to judge how well the game's doing because they never really sold rule books. They had the rule books available as PDFs and they sold the miniatures. So I
Yeah.
at least when I was playing, or at least when I started to get into it, and then the guy that I was going to be playing with moved out of town, and so yeah, that killed that.
Yeah. I think they'll have a
Oh
big
man.
challenge competing with Dropfleet
Yeah.
Commander.
Now, on another note, the channel now officially has some Blood Bowl content. Um, I will say that it is not polished content. It was a live stream, and there were some lighting issues there, so I apologize for that. The game itself was awesome. It was a great game, and I actually won, so that kind of biases me to how well the game went. But it was actually a good game. It was competitive. Ended up a 2-1 score, so it was a lot of fun. If you're into Blood Bowl, I recommend you check it out. Know that as with everything that's going on with the channel right now, we are trying to refine things. So any suggestions, comments you have, I'm more than happy to listen to. One thing that was definitively a problem for that video is just that there was a really, really hot light sitting really close to the table, and it glared off the Blood Bowl board because I didn't have a neoprene mat, and so yeah, it got some reflection there on that light, and that was bad. But other than that, it was a fun game.
Yeah, it's also exciting for Blood Bowl right now. Their new season coming out.
Yes, I have recently picked up the Blood Bowl Season 3 book. The group that I'm playing with right now is still playing with the Season 2 rules, but we have made the plans to switch to Season 3 because it had just come out once we had started the season, midway through our season, and we were like, okay, let's go ahead and finish this season, then we're going to jump into the Season 3 rules. The one thing that I heard about the rules that really confuses me is that they changed some of the skill brackets for some of the teams. Like dwarves don't get, I don't think they get strength as one of their primary skills anymore. So, like the one guy that I had played had guard like all across his team, and now he's going to have a lot harder time getting that, which boggles my mind. I mean, I would think that dwarves would be a strength-based team, but things change.
I don't know. Games Workshop, they'll adjust it.
Yeah,
Depends.
Soon.
Depends on which Games Workshop development team you have.
Or never ever for 5 years.
But before we get into Leviathans talk, do you have anything, Garrett, that you wanted to throw out there?
Oh, I mean, not really. It's just it's Christmas time for me, so it's busy making accessories for people's presents and stockings. That's all I got really going on. But yeah, no, I'm excited to get into the rest of the show here.
Yeah, I finally got to play my first game of Leviathans this Thursday. Now, I was not the one on stream. That was Nick and Aaron on stream this week. But Garrett and I played a game, and I got to get the feel for it. But it also, of course, led me to have some noob questions that I will throw out there.
We did a solid demo game. Like basically it was like a core set game technically, where you have a type 2 and a type 1 ship and fly around.
We had 2 demo games and 2 full 1K standard games happening at the game store. Like, we haven't seen growth like this for people being generally interested in ever with Armada.
I feel like I flew pretty well though.
Oh yeah, you did a great job. You flew Britain, and you really got a hang of. I really like how in Leviathans you can test out where you're going. Kind of like, because like if you're on a ship, you're charting a course on a map, on a table, to see where you'd go, and you can measure out like fire. You are receiving a fire lanes, like for the convenience of. So the answer isn't an immediately. You're not done like in Armada where you move and that's it. Yeah. Because everyone's moving simultaneously or whatever. So I really like that you can pick a ship up, move it around, test out where you're going to be, and then make a decision after looking at a couple things.
I hope it's just me, but you're kind of choppy there. Your audio is fine, but your video is...
You're choppy to me too, a little bit.
Okay. Am I choppy to you, Reuben?
We're clear, but I'm choppy with Garrett.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be me.
All right.
Should be interesting. I'm hardwired too. I could drop off and reconnect here.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe that'll help. But anyways, yeah. No, you did a good job. We practiced doing, torpedoes. We practiced flying around clouds. And then like doing breach rolls. Yeah. So that's what it's kind of it's one of those things where each breach roll, you got to look at like 4 different things and then gather the 4 correct dice.
Yeah.
Or 4 selections of dice. I think Reuben directed me towards somebody on Discord who's talking about picking up giant piles of dice. And I feel like, I don't know, when I'm playing Leviathans, I still feel like I get a ton of dice.
It's because they're chunky. Like every time you get a pool, it's a big old handful of them.
Well, and then if you bracket fire like 2 guns, you're usually rolling like 5 to 6 dice. And in Armada, rolling more than like 4 dice outside of a couple ships in the game rarely happens. And you only get to do it once. So, but in Leviathans, like you can roll shots like 3 or 4
Is your
times.
So
regular
that
die
kind of
rolls like
leads that kind of leads into my first question here. I mean, you'll hear us talk about bracket fire and regular fire, and then there's also saturation fire. And
Yep.
really, what's the difference between those, and how do you know if you can do it?
So if you're looking at your ship cards, I don't know if we got the graphics
I
up,
don't have
but
graphics up for that, unfortunately.
it's
I
really
probably
easy.
should
It's really
have.
easy. So all guns can fire at will, and fire at will is just you take a shot with one turret or like side mounted gun, and you get your gun dice, you get your slot dice, you potentially get a crew dice if there's a crew in that zone, and then you get the location dice of the enemy, like standard. Um, and then you have the we'll go turret fire next.
Mhm.
So if there's a T on the gun, it stands for turret, and that just notes that your gun can swing and shoot out uh, different firing arcs. So like side mounted guns can basically shoot forward,
Mhm.
but not directly in front of the ship, but forward and then behind you. Much more so than being limited to like a 45-degree line drawn out from the side of the ship. And then a lot of the guns have triangles next to them, and the triangle denotes that you can bracket fire that gun. The normal bracket firing rules are guns of the same size can bracket fire together at a target. And so what happens there is you gather the dice for the guns that you're firing. So let's say you're firing 2 guns, you get 2 gun dice, and then you get a slot die. You get the crew die from both zones that you're shooting from, if you're shooting from like the front turret and like a side gun. And then you get the location die of the enemy ship. And then you roll those. And if you had 2 crew, you get to pick the best crew die that rolled. And then if you fired more than 2 guns together, like 3 or 4 guns together, you get to pick the 2 best dice that you rolled there. And then the biggest advantage of bracket firing is you can't miss. And so the enemy ships and your ships have missed slots. And if you roll a slot that's a miss zone, you get to keep re-rolling your slot die until you hit a target. And also because you're combining more dice together, your average breach roll number is higher, and thus your hit rate is the chances of hitting are higher. So that's bracket firing. And so as long as you're bracket firing the same size guns together, that's fine. Because some ships have like a bracket fire 3-inch on the side and then 3-inch turrets on the front, and then the rest of the guns on the side are 4 inches. And I think your Cairo, Chris, had a situation like that,
Yeah.
where you had one gun that you could bracket fire with your front turrets, and then everything else on the side was like 4-inch guns.
Yeah. Now,
And then,
am I remembering correctly that on the ship card, if the gun can bracket fire, it will have a triangle on it?
yep, that's correct. The
Okay.
triangle next to it. So sometimes ships will have like 3 symbols. They'll have the T, a triangle, and a saturation. And then the saturation symbol is a square. It's a white square. And saturation firing, its biggest thing, also, you can't miss. So when you roll slot dies, they get re-rolled. But saturation fire is amazing because instead of rolling one slot die, you get to roll a slot die for each additional little square. Now, right now in the game, there's only one square next to saturation guns. I think they were trying to future-proof to like make super saturation guns, which I think is the Japanese Empire is going to be. So saturation fire, what that means, since you have 2 slot dies, you can potentially, with one gun, destroy 2 different slots on an enemy ship because you get 2 slot die. So like you roll 2 and a 3, you hit both 2 and 3 zones or slots. And then you can bracket fire saturation guns, but you cannot keep adding on additional slot die. You only get the 2 slot die, and that's just so you're not rolling like 4 slot die for one bracket shot, because your chances of rolling really big, generally on saturation guns, are heavier in the game. Like you're rolling reds, yellows, black die with them. So It's like a balancing.
Now, do the saturation guns do that amount of damage to both zones that they hit, or do you have to split that damage?
No,
So
it's both zones.
Okay.
It's like rolling 2 shots at
specifically,
once.
Yeah.
you can roll the same slot twice with a saturation attack, and if the first attack, if your breach value is higher than their, well, if your breach roll is higher than the breach value of the slot that you rolled, you will damage it with the first saturation attack, and then you will hit it again and breach it again, which will cause the second die to be re-rolled. Now, if you re-roll into the same slot a third time, you would make a breaking the kill roll. Otherwise, you would apply damage normally to that, whatever your new fresh slot roll is.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a potential there of, knocking a ship out, especially like a small destroyer, like a Type 1 ship. You could break a ship with 1 saturation fire immediately if you roll high enough, because there's some ships like Italians that have really low structural integrity.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
yeah,
found
so
that the saturation is more threatening to destroyers than bracketing, which isn't how I originally imagined everything working. Because if you get 2 saturation guns on a destroyer, because of how high the die values tend to be and how low the breach values of destroyers are with their 2 miss slots, if you get 2 guns to breach all 4 times, you damage 4 of their slots, which means you immediately make a breaking kill roll. And the SI of destroyers can be fairly low, so if you get a high roll on that 2d10, you can just flat out one tap a ship.
yeah,
My experience is that the bracketing attacks, unless you have like 6 of them to shoot at a destroyer, you're giving up. You're basically at minimum, you're having your number of attacks to guarantee that you ignore the miss slots, and you can still roll a bunch of 1s and bounce off. In fact, I kind of expect my Italian ships to bounce 1 attack around generally. All the rest of them tend to go through when everybody brackets. But I can get that one time that somebody rolls a bunch of 1s and 2s. Last thing is that the only way outside of the Italian Admiral that allows you to reroll 1 breach roll per round to reroll or manipulate dice in this game is a 3-gun bracket attack. Because you get to roll 3 of the attack dice and pick the highest 2. It's essentially it's similar in stats to an informed reroll. So it's kind of the only way that you can push your curve. Like if you imagine all the different D12s all together, the only way to push your curve to the right and get those higher numbers is with a 3-gun attack.
Yeah, and even then, a lot of the bracket fire ships are like rolling greens and blues.
Mm-hmm.
So the highest the dice can go is
sometimes
like 4 and 6.
yellows.
Yeah, sometimes yellows. You got to have a pretty good ship.
Yeah.
But like, and the saturation is really dangerous, like I said earlier, because of the reds and yellows. And I don't think there's any blacks. Usually only black dice get rolled as location die.
Well, I have to say, one thing that really got me was the ship dice, the location dice, because the attack dice that Garrett was throwing at me was not really all that terribly powerful, but then when he adds in the location dice, those were the power. My ship was doing more damage to itself based on that than his guns were.
Right, because it's like it represents like it's easy to hit the side profile of your ship. I think it's what they're doing with that, because like a lot of times the front profile of the ship have the location die is only a green. But I think that's another thing to look at when fleet building is how you're going to fly your fleet if you have a bunch of black location die on the side of your ships and your guns aren't side turrets and they're guns that have to be rotated and fixed towards the enemy to shoot, then I don't know if that ship is worth the points. Because if you're presenting your black location die side to the enemy to then shoot your guns,
that was painful. I don't know if that was really painful.
Because the Cairo took a beating because of that. Because you couldn't shoot. You had the 2 turrets on the front and a turret on the back, but it couldn't do anything that's not enough guns. You had to have your side guns,
Yeah.
and I just kept flying. I can't remember. I think it was the Marco Polo, to where I could just keep hammering the side. But it wasn't enough actually.
No, I mean I survived it,
to
but
save.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I noticed that because I played Germans and Sean played French, and I noticed that the yellow location die on the French destroyer makes that thing weirdly brittle when you're shooting the side of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And the German and the French cruiser had D blacks on its side too, and it's so swingy. Like the D greens and D blues are pretty tight in their curves because they're D4s and D6s, so they're pretty
yeah.
like you can expect something. But man, every time we're playing this game and that black die comes out, like somebody's gonna be crying and or screaming about it because
Yeah.
it can go
If you
off
get
the
a
chain like
if you get
immediately.
a 10, if you
Oh
get
yeah,
a 10, like you're going
you're
through.
so screwed.
Something's getting destroyed.
And you
Because
got a
like you
lot of
could roll a
tens.
1
I
on the
saw
other 4
11s too.
dice. Yeah, no, that black dice was hot. And it was only one black die, right? Which was even better. Because the best part is if you're rolling one black and you have, a green and 2 blues, all you gotta do is roll like 1s and 2s on
8.
those,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get like 14 to 16,
Mhm.
right? And which is usually enough to punch through most non-German ships.
Yeah,
So
game's really
the next noob question is more a strategy question, because technically by the rules it's kind of easy to really understand how torpedoes work, but
Yeah.
effective usage of torpedoes is a completely different thing. So what are some of the thoughts on keeping in mind when you are using torpedoes?
I'll let Reuben
so
talk about this. I'll
yeah.
say that there's either you got a lot of torpedoes or you
Mhm.
got 2 torpedoes, and there's 2 very different uses.
Generally, I'm finding that with Italians, I think the reasonable combined arms amount of torpedoes is 5 to 7. Because if you bring 2, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to zone. So first of all, let's take a step back. First of all, torpedoes are better in objective games. Torpedoes are not particularly great, in my opinion, in skirmish because all they're going to really do is do their zoning pattern effect, which we'll talk about like as the next 2 ways that you use torpedoes. But in tug of war, control points, invasion, breakthrough, and potentially reinforcements, torpedoes existing means that you are actively forcing the opponent to go into the zone that the torpedoes are in, because if they do not, you get points. Like that's the whole concept here. Because if you put the torpedoes around the control point, if they want the 50 points that turn, they have to take the torpedo hit or use a resource like a plane to go make the attack on the torpedo instead of being near your planes that are turret fightering and shooting their crew out, something like that. So torpedoes better for missions. The next way, so like once you get into a situation where you want to use your torpedoes to advantage you, you can either use them to zone or you can use them to attack. So a zoning torpedo pattern is a line of torpedoes all facing the same direction, right? So remember that they point towards hex sides. So if you have 4 torpedoes and you point them all like this, where they're making a nice big cloud bank, that's a zoning thing. Because what you're doing is you're saying, if you go over here, you might get shot. You don't want that. So it works like terrain, right? Because so far, our play group is not experienced enough to understand when the risk of the torpedo damaging a location is worth it. Because most people right now, they look at it and they like, we can't see the game multiple turns in the future to understand that if we don't take this risk now, we lose.
Well,
We're
and
playing within.
torpedo dice are pretty swingy too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
they're
it's pretty
they're
red.
the red ones, so
So you're getting 3 to like what, 30?
yeah.
I mean, I've knocked out Garrett's saturation gun on the bow of his battleship, and that was the whole swing of the game, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes
totally
and other
changes
times they
everything.
do
Yeah.
nothing. Like they just bounce off of bounce off an armor plate, don't do anything. The second way to use torpedoes is an attack pattern. From World War II, it's called an anvil attack. So what you do is you have your torpedoes come like this at the bow of the enemy ship. And what you want to do is you want to center your pattern around their interhex, their turning hex. So the hex that they have to move through with their turning hex of their battleship. So if they go, so like two hex, if their inner hex before move turn is 2, that's where you want to focus your interlock, not the actual bow of their ship, but 2 hexes in front of it. Because if they only go 2 hexes, if they have to go 2 hexes before they turn, and you have 5 torpedoes, no matter where they move, as long as you're set up like this with 1 in the middle, they will take 3 torpedo hits. And that's how you actually attack with torpedoes. You have to have mass, and you have to have a pattern that forces the opponent to make nothing but bad decisions. And the goal is, of course, that you damage their stuff, capitalize on your immediate damage and the positioning that they had to do. So, because either they're going to turn one way or the other, and you want to move into that zone if you're fast enough so that you can capitalize on where the damage was applied to.
Yeah, now I've been looking at British ships, so I don't see a lot of heavy torpedo use with those.
Yeah, it's really specialized between Italians, French, and maybe in the future Americans, because French do some torpedoes, but they're the only ones that really do the HE torpedoes.
Mm-hmm.
And Italians have like a lot of torpedoes, but their torpedoes are shorter ranged,
Okay.
which is interesting trade-off. Last thing about torpedoes is, as of right now, at my experience level and our experience level, they're just useless against cruisers and destroyers. Because if you think about how a ship on the hex map can move, if they have an inner hex before turn of 1 or 2, they can go 1 hex and then turn once and then go 8 hexes this way, or they can do the other thing the other way, or they can go 1 bot, right? And they can like wheel around and be way over here. So you can't get your torpedo pattern to hit them in a place where they must be, like a
Yeah,
battleship.
they're just too squirrely.
Yeah.
They're too
I will
squirrely.
say, you're talking about the torpedo attack pattern hitting the bow. So it's kind of hard to do if you're not Italy, obviously, to have enough ships to be able to position them on the board to get your torpedoes launched in both those angles to make it happen. But I will say, I've seen the cards for the expansion for the torpedo boats expansions, and I think each faction is getting new torpedo boat Type 1 ships, which will be fast and only like torpedo focused, I think, is their plan. Torpedo boats were like a huge part of World War One. So those we need to have, and having those in your fleet will let you do that strategy much easier. And combining a couple torpedo boats with something like, a German battleship would be a very different play style than the tank,
And we haven't
tanky turtle thing that they got going on right now.
and we haven't really experimented with the torpedo bomber either.
It's expensive.
It's expensive, and it only puts down 1 torpedo.
Yeah.
But if you can use it, because it's technically more mobile than ships are, you can use it to get that extra angle to really make your anvil attack work. Because you kind of have to have your ships pointed like this with the enemy ship here so that you can get your crossing pattern.
That kind of
the HE ones are mostly zoning, in my experience.
That kind of leads into the question about squads, because I didn't get to play with squads, and I've heard a lot of people talking about how great turret fighters are, but I don't really know what the difference between turret fighters and interceptors, and torpedo bombers are pretty self-explanatory, but what is the pros and cons of each of the types of fighters there?
Well, okay, let's talk about fighters. So
Mhm.
in Leviathans, right now, in the state of the current game and rules, I think planes that are focused on fighting planes are in a weird spot
Don't use
because
it.
the specialty planes, like spotter planes and turret fighters, can also dogfight other planes with
Mhm.
anti-air dice. But okay, let's go over the fighter types first. You got fighters,
Mm-hmm.
and they have an basically they're just escort ability fighters, so that if you are shooting at uh uh their or if they're shooting at your spotter or bombers, you can redirect the anti-air fire to the fighter. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like Armada,
It's
except a
It's
little
attention.
literally
less.
just escort from Armada.
Right. I would never ever take a veteran fighter,
Mm-mm.
because like their whole jobs is to soak damage till they die.
They're there to be Porkins.
And then you have bombers. And bombers are awful, I think, because you don't
I
get location
disagree.
die with bombers. They only get two dice. They only get
I
two
don't.
dice.
I think the. I think veteran could be playable, and I think the heavy bomber could be playable in as one
Heavy,
ofs. Okay,
heavy bomber is
so
a different thing. Heavy bomber is
but
fine because they get three dice.
sure, but because they have two health and they have high SI. And when you do the health pool of a ship, if you have any of a squadron, it doesn't overflow to the next SI, the next health. So if I have one SI left, and I have two health on my bomber, and you shoot me with a fighter, and you roll an 8 or a 6, it just does one damage. And I go, oh, I negated 5 points of your damage and one
Right.
sixth of your rolls. And it is a squadron that can do literally anything, hopefully, to a ship, because
Yes.
that's the pressing issue. Don't play.
However,
I tried green ones. Don't play them.
that's what I'm saying.
They can't do
Like,
it.
but like even the veterans are slow. They're slow and two
Yep.
dice. I don't know. But there's better options. There's better options, right? So we have the bombers, and then we mentioned heavy bombers. Heavy bombers are you only get one because they're 60 points out of your 100. Uh, they're fantastic. They get three dice. They will kill slots,
They'll
but they're
actually
really
hurt a slot.
slow. They're really slow. So you got to really think about moving these like you're moving a slow ship. Um, and then we mentioned torpedo bombers. I don't think they're that great because they launch a single torpedo.
I I wonder if they're what you take instead of a turret fighter. If you're gonna do a if you're not gonna do turret fighters and you want a cheap so basically all the squad compositions I'm building are 1 to 3 turret fighters and 0 to 1 spotters.
Yes.
So I think that maybe the torpedo bomber can be your turret fighter replacement because it can interact with ships, it can shoot at squads or other torpedoes, and its gun works just like a torpedo. So you're not as impacted by it being green.
Yeah.
So potentially that's a different way to use them.
I'm not sold on them. I'm not sold on them because of the competition problem.
Sure, absolutely.
Because we haven't like because you just mentioned the ones that matter.
Hmm.
And then we're interceptors. Interceptors are super fast anti-air. They shoot down torpedoes.
I think they're terrible, personally.
They're not worth it. Don't bring them because they have low SI, one health, they're easy to kill.
Mhm.
I've had them one shotted by like
Yep. Yep.
non
You
fighters.
shot mine down.
Really funny, instantly dead. Uh, and their whole thing is like they're the other planes are just as fast. I don't need to go 14 hexes. I just don't
Mhm.
need to. Uh, and then okay, here's what matters. The first one's the turret fighter. This thing's insane, and I think I think the developers have to do something about this because my whole fleet composition is just turret fighters and spotters. Because the turret fighters get to attack only crew slots on ships specifically every time. It's what they do. They attack crew slots. And you take 2 or 3 of these turret fighters, or even just one, you take out the crew on the sides of a ship that is important. Because as the rules are as written right now, you get the 3 dice from the turret fighter plus the location die.
Which is the weird part.
Ow.
Which is not good. That is not good.
Yeah.
That has got to get. It has to be like the bombers. It's got to get nixed because you'll never ever miss. It's 100%.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If
time.
it's directly at crew, then it's not rolling location die, and yeah.
Yeah, and the other issue with them is that I lost my thought.
They're basically fast. They basically shoot torpedoes as well, or other aircraft.
So, in the rules, it says, since this is a mess. I was talking on the rules, questioning the Leviathans about it with some of the playtesters. Is machine. So in the playbook, machine gunners are not turret fighters. The rules for machine guns are a separate thing that's not in this game yet. That the developers specifically called out in the FAQ. They are not part of the game. So turret fight, like even though in the book machine gunners sounds like turret fighters because they're both attacking crew slots, it's not the same thing apparently.
What's the difference in the rules?
I don't know. Apparently, maybe there'll be planes in the future that get machine gunners on them, and turret fighters will be a separate thing. But we can't speak to it. We don't know. But the problem is, it says they can attack crew slots. Now, the way I read that is it can attack crew slots, not uncommon bracket crew slots, not uncommon repair crew slots.
Other crew slots, yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Slots.
I just think it's crew slots. Because if you let me attack your uncommon crew slots, every turn I get to destroy 3 of them.
Yeah.
Every turn, with like no consequence. So these questions have been sent to Catalyst. So they're working on it. I'm very eager to hear what the answer is.
Yeah, because we haven't gotten their next round of FAQ yet, and it should be soon.
It should be soon. Yeah, because they got the answer back just about the bracket firing, but the turret thing. But yeah, turret fighters are as currently insanity.
And also
they're better than ships.
They not only when a turret fighter knocks out your crew slot, not only is it negatively impacting the damage output of the ship, you're also negatively impacting the durability of the ship because it cannot repair. And you're negatively impacting the lifespan of the ship because every single slot damage that you damage or destroy adds to the SI roll. So your aircraft are adding to your breaking the keel rolls. So you shoot them in the side and you plink off their crew off of their side and rear, and then you shoot your saturation guns at the front of into their bow, and now you're adding +3 to your roll because your aircraft just pinged off a bunch of their crew. Suddenly you're, like 10%, 5% closer to just popping that ship.
Yeah.
And they fight squads, and they can't be knocked down. That's the biggest thing about this game that's so different.
They can, not only that, they can end their turn, shoot a torpedo, shoot a squadron, and shoot the ship. All 3 actions.
They're the most efficient activation in the game. Period.
Yeah. And you're only going to take 1 anti-air shot from the ship at one of your turrets, one of your turret fighters. And then maybe the enemy
to kill one.
Yeah, and then maybe your enemy will have
their turret fighters will shoot you.
Yeah. But their turret fighters are attacking your ships. They're not going to waste time. Like it's I don't know. It's a difficult situation where I don't know if they need to be 60 points, like the heavy bombers, to keep them from just being everywhere. But they're too good. Like, you shouldn't be able to just auto-kill
I think
crew.
if they didn't roll slot dice, they would be fine. Now,
Yeah.
should they go up 5 points? Sure, because you get into the interesting point, just like bombing in Armada and aces with scatters. If you have like the archetype is turret fighters, right? So if I know that I'm going to a competitive event and I expect to play against a bunch of turret fighters, do I do the prisoner's dilemma of turret fighters? Or do I go, I expect there to be a lot of turret fighters, so instead I'm going to take a turret fighter and then like a bunch of fighters and see if
Yeah.
I can like kill their turret fighters, because most of the missions are points based and they don't give you that many points, and it's somewhat unlikely that a bunch of ships are going to die. I've only had one like really really bloody game so far. So if you can snipe a couple of their fighters, that could be the game. Like that's a
Right.
deciding number of points. Like my interceptor rolling up to a turret fighter and going Pew! And doing 1 damage to it, and the turret fighter going and just blowing it out of the sky. I had to play more aggressively in that game state because I was down 20 points and he could have just flown away and won. And I'm like,
Right.
well, now I have to send it.
I feel
So
like I feel like planes should be able to do one thing. Yeah, I mean that's just
most of them
You
do.
mean like
yeah.
not do multiple
You
things?
would
Yeah.
you would have to make the choice. Okay, am I going after the crew? Am I going after the torpedo? Am I going after another fighter? That I think would be a really balancing factor. But
I
Yeah.
wouldn't
And it's
mind if they
clear that
changed
that's why
that
they
that
made them
way.
100 points, like 100 point cap, because they're so much more maneuverable, they're so much more action efficient, and generally they're as durable-ish as a ship. Like it takes a few shots to kill one, so kind of the same. Um, and we haven't even talked about spotters yet.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I
So
know.
spotters.
Roll the bean footage.
So
Spotters are crazy.
spotters are the perfect perfect balanced fighter of the game. They're appropriately priced at like 30 points or something for a green spotter. They don't do anything OP. Their whole job is they spot an enemy ship, and then each of your ships that shoot at the enemy ship get to add one additional green die for one single shot. So if you have 4 ships and 1 spotter, that's 4 extra green die. It's not like a yellow die. It's not a black die. It's just a little green die. And then it has a small anti-air, and they're moderately quick. I think they're like 10 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And they're great. You don't need to bring a veteran one, because all the veteran one does is make it more expensive and a better anti-air. All that matters
Not
is
what
that you
they're
get
here
it in
for.
position to spot. It's a great little fighter that makes your ships better, and doesn't enrage the other player by killing all their crew slots. I love it. I love it. It's great. Now, if it was adding, I think if it was adding better dice in green, it would be a problem. Or if it was
Oh yeah.
more than one per ship, it would be a problem.
Oh
But
yeah.
I just think it's just
I think
chef's kiss balance.
green die once per ship, really like excellent support piece, which
Now
you
is the
have to
green
compare.
6 or 4?
It's a D4.
Okay.
It
D4.
only goes to 4. Like I
Yeah.
just think it's so good,
Yeah.
so good for
Mhm.
what it does.
And it's like that utility, relative durability, and generally being helpful in all phases of the game is what you have to compare the torpedo bombers, heavy bombers to, because that's the slot that they're going to be in. So if you don't need, if you don't feel that you need a spotter and extra attacks, that's when you're in your list building, in your fleet building, that's where you look at the other fighters and justify a mission parameter for them. I will say that turret fighters, well, spotters are specifically, in my opinion, the best with saturation attacks, because you're compounding the strength of the high die type of a saturation attack and the fact that it will never miss and rolls 2 location dice. So in effect, you're increasing your already high die, which variable, by D4, and you're doubling the effect of the spotting D4, because instead of being one attack, effectively you're making two. So if you're playing factions that have a lot of saturation attacks, I think you should bring one or two spotter aircraft, because then you can ping your two targets for that round and go saturation this until it explodes, saturation that until it explodes, fly off into the sunset into my next round with a W.
Of course,
Yeah, I think you bring a spotter plane in every one spotter plane at minimum.
I do have to touch upon the one irritation factor in dealing with fighters, and that's just there's no plastic.
Oh yeah. It's like clearly we want fighter planes in this game, but we're not gonna because it would like make the game all of a sudden way more expensive to manufacture.
Yeah,
because then you're not just manufacturing ships. Now we got to set up a separate manufacturing system for stands for the planes, or complicated dial systems for the planes, and then the models of the planes themselves. And so they were just like, here's some tokens. Listen, tokens
and not enough cards
are way too small. This is the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem. Reuben, you're exactly right. The plane token pack. So, okay, here's the biggest. All right. The starter set comes with fighters and bombers. Awful. Whatever. I don't care. The plane token pack comes with one card for each type of plane, which is
four of each token.
Which is asinine, because that's only helpful if you're running one plane. Yep. So now either you've got to go third party from like me and get like Armada style squadron dials that track health, or you're like homebrewing card stock, copying and printing out and laminating so that you can track them with the dry erase.
My solution was to get the tiny Chessex dice in red.
They gotta be super small. Yeah, it's crazy how small the tokens are.
They also don't fit the hex, and they're also not downsized to fit exactly under a ship's base, which is also weird.
It's craziness. The whole thing is wild. And direction matters, and if you like tap it, it turns and instantly. And it's hard to, and this is the biggest problem. Every time we start a game, like Nick will come over to me, he's like, "Oh, I need a green turret fighter," and now I'm looking at my box of tokens, and like
I figure out what the hell means what.
I can't like see, and I'm young, right? And I can't see the letter I'm looking for, like in this like array of F's and I's and M's, and like the planes aren't different enough to be like iconically recognizable. Okay. It's not like I'm looking for X-Wings and TIE fighters. They're just biplanes.
The visual language of this game is very beige.
Yeah.
It's very beige.
So I'm like, what? I'm like sitting there staring like, oh my gosh, where's the F green? And I'll find the F tan, because they're like dual-sided, like one side's tan, one side's green for enemy and you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like infuriating.
I looked at the card, I was like, okay, how's this a turret fighter? And it's got like the same.
It says
it's got the same nose as an interceptor, and it's got this tiny little gun arc coming out of the side of it. And I was like, that's the turret fighter. And then I'm like rummaging through my tokens, trying to find these little things.
It has an M on it, which adds to the confusion, because they said it's not a machine
torpedo is T.
I know. So they couldn't make it. But then they.
What's it going to be? F is fighter.
Yeah.
What do you want?
They gotta fix it.
What do you want from us?
They gotta fix it.
Why?
But you have been working on stands, right? And then there's 3D models that you can.
Yeah. So like Mad Potter on Colts 3D is making like resin-based STLs that look real good, and then I'm making Armada type stands to where you rotate the disc based on health, and then it's a hex with a giant arrow pointing which direction it goes, and then a magnetic stem that you can take on or off to put your fighters on, which is like what everybody just wants to put their.
It's just what this game is.
It also has relevant information, like what kind of fighter plane is this? Because when you're sitting at the table looking at it, you're like, well, what is that vague token on the other side of the table now. I don't
What is
know.
this
I don't even
beige
know what my
token?
own
Yeah, I'd
title.
imagine it's kind of hard to see on our streams too. I mean, the
Oh,
Yeah,
it's impossible. Like
they're gloss
Reuben
finished.
was like ranting about the inability to see tokens, and
Yeah. Let
we
me
were
tell
like,
you,
all right, we need to
QA of
make.
this game, as a like as a person that watches a lot of wargaming content, like this game is messy. It looks messy. It's
Yeah, Reuben's like, we need
not
giant
clean.
tokens with giant red
Yeah,
arrows.
yeah, with like a big red friggin' Sharpie thick line on one of the edges of these hexes, so
Yeah,
everybody knows from like 50 feet away where this thing's pointed.
like especially torpedoes. Like when you have like
Ugh.
15 torpedoes out, you're like,
Don't
all
get me
right, we're just
started
going.
about that, about what Nick and Aaron did on stream. That was like the most visual clutter I've
oh
ever
yeah,
seen in
because
my
they were
life.
using tokens from other games to try to
From
mark out
like
Not even
there were
this
just
is
just
where the
open buckets on
explosion's going
there,
to take
just
place.
smearing them around.
Yeah.
they like took a core set from Armada and like dumped all the different
Yeah,
tokens
dumped
out
all the
and then
shit
like
on the
mixed them
table.
together. I was like, you
And then
couldn't
they
even
were
just
sitting there
use like
going,
command tokens?
and they're like, "Oh, well then I just fly here and here and here," and then they spent like 5 minutes just sweeping all these tokens off the
Yeah.
table. So I it's the presenting this game as a thing that can be viewed by somebody, it's it's different than a lot of other games because the components are very minimal, but they're also really specific about how they point, which
Yeah.
is weird because
Listen, we're
most
getting
games
there.
that we play
We're getting there.
aren't like that way because of the hex board of it. But once we get there, oh man, it's going to be really crisp and it's going to be really clean and it's going to be very clear what's where and how. And that's going to be really nice to view, I think. Because also because the game's so component limited, that once you figure out how to like present it as a story, it's going to be very clear what's going on. And I think it will go pretty quickly because we're still at we're down to like 2 hours and 30-ish on games, and we're only, I mean, I've played what, four, maybe
Yeah.
five-ish.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah, that's
we're
another thing
getting
we forgot
there.
to mention. Dice. Uh the core set doesn't come with enough dice. This is a problem they need to
Ugh.
fix. And then all the dice, obviously the game's not retail yet till January, so there's no dice packs out there. We're really lucky that I got this like giant lot
You
of Noble
goblined it
Knight.
all up. It was actually really important.
Yeah, so we have enough dice, but we still don't have enough dice for like
Yeah,
4 games at once.
I
Uh,
hate it. Like, I hate that the expansion bag. I was thinking about it today when I was thinking about the notes for today's show. I was like, it's why ever put one red and one black in your expansion box when you know your mainline product has three blues, three greens, one yellow, two
yeah.
yellows, one red, one black.
Well, that was a manufacturing error, or like a packaging error on the part of them,
Like,
because they when you look at the original Kickstarter images, it's supposed to have 3 of each, like everything
but
else.
like
But yeah,
I need like I think you need four blues, four greens, three yellows, three reds, three blacks, and that's a complete die set.
yes,
And unfortunately, statistically speaking, you probably shouldn't use whatever the regular polyhedral is.
yeah, it can be close.
Unfortunately, it's
Uh,
close, but it's
I
not
know,
accurate.
I know. I think Cocktail, like he's like, all right, here's what you do with the dice, and I was like, okay, this all makes sense. But I don't like it. I want the normal dice that are supposed to come with the game.
Yeah.
I just want like let me give you money so I can have the dice.
Mhm.
Uh, so hopefully when they
Because
get retail out here, they'll have those in
they're
spades.
getting too like I need well, other things like you're gonna want three you're gonna want three of the neoprenes personally. That's where I've settled. The one that has the open and the narrow, a, a light and a heavy,
Yeah.
like just strategically with how the pregame is. I think that's like if you needed to bring all the game components to play a game for a tournament, you would need like you'd want neoprene or the paper. And then I know I'm probably gonna buy two more of the dice packs. I'm gonna have a bunch of extra yellow and blue and greens, unfortunately. But you gotta have three reds, you gotta have three yellows, you gotta have three blacks, and you want
Yeah,
4, 5 of the blues and greens
Yeah.
because let me tell you, you don't understand how long it takes to do something so simple as rolling 3 reds when you have to do each one individually and then try to count. Like, it's weirdly slow when you can just like chuck all 3 and go plop 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 and then you're done.
Yeah.
Because like,
And I'm not
you
Rain
roll it
Man,
once, and,
where I
like,
can just like store all the numbers in my head as I'm rolling my
Yeah.
reds. I gotta be like, all
And
right,
then-
hold on. This is 10.
you're excited about the
Plus-
moment. You roll that second D red, it goes cartwheeling off into the game store, and the polished concrete goes beep, and then you're chasing around dice all over the place.
Well,
And we're not on clock, which is good because, man, it's weird.
we
Physical
have
games, man, they're fun.
we have hit our time for the evening, but just a reminder to everybody, this is the last show of 2025. We are going to be taking a holiday break here, so want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
now we will still be having our Thursday night stream. I don't know about the week after that. I'll have to look at the calendar, but I will try to keep things updated on the Discord and on Facebook. So, check things out
We need to
there.
get Brits on stream. So this is your moment.
All right.
Britain. Rule Britannia. Come on.
I am going to
Rum
shoot you
ration,
from the other
tea.
side of the board.
There we go. Come on. Stiff
Yeah.
British
So-
upper lip.
Man, yeah, I'm so excited to do like little episodes on ships and factions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm excited.
There's just so much because we can break down each class of ship, each name ship. So like we can do the La Glorie class, like the La Glorie and all of that stuff, and do all the Italians. We do faction breakdowns. There's so much content to do about this game, just from how we've approached this game how we approach Armada as people who want to teach and like approach the game to help new players and really explain what's going on. So.
All right. Well, with that, I will say good night, gentlemen. Thank you for being on tonight.
Bye.
Night, y'all.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us for the show. I hope you had a good time. We will be back in a month now. It's going to be, I think, January 5th is the next show as we take the time to enjoy the holidays. But hopefully you'll join us back for there. We'll keep you updated on what's going on. Join us on Thursday for our live stream. We'll be doing some Leviathans on Thursday. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful evening.